The morning they shut me down, I had 11 guys standing around a half-poured foundation with nothing to do but watch a patrol car block my own driveway. I run a small construction outfit, nothing fancy, just enough contracts to keep the crew paid through winter, and the job I was finishing that week was a garage addition for a client 2 streets over from a subdivision run by a woman named Deena Miller. I'd met her exactly once, 3 weeks earlier, when she walked onto my client's property uninvited and told me the addition violated a setback rule that didn't exist in any ordinance I could find. I told her politely that I'd already pulled permits and she was welcome to check with the county. She smiled the way people smile when they've already decided you're going to lose, and she left. I didn't think about her again until 2 officers were standing in my client's driveway telling me the job was closed pending inspection, effective immediately, on a complaint filed by the HOA. I asked what the complaint alleged. Neither of them knew. They just knew the county had flagged the address and sent someone out that afternoon to look at it, and until that someone signed off, my crew wasn't touching another board. That someone turned out to be my brother. I have a twin, Ray, and for the better part of a decade we've barely spoken. Not because of some dramatic falling out, just the slow drift that happens when 2 people build different lives in different counties and stop finding reasons to call. I knew he worked in code compliance. I didn't know he'd been promoted to lead inspector for this district 4 months earlier, and I definitely didn't know that the first case dropped on his desk that week would have my name on it and a photo of my own crew attached to the file. He didn't recognize the address until he pulled into the driveway and saw me standing there in a hard hat looking as stunned as he was. We stood in that driveway for a solid 10 seconds just staring at each other before either of us said a word, and the first thing out of his mouth wasn't "hey" or "it's been a while." It was, "Please tell me you didn't actually violate a setback." I told him I hadn't, and he believed me, because Ray has never once in his life taken my word for something without checking it himself, twin or not. He walked the property with a tape measure and the county's actual zoning map on his tablet, and within 20 minutes he had what he needed. The addition was 4 inches inside the legal limit, well within code, and the HOA's claimed setback line existed nowhere in the recorded plat. He wrote it up as unfounded and cleared the stop work order on the spot. I thought that was the end of it. My client shook his hand, my crew started loading tools back onto the truck, and for about 18 hours I actually believed the whole thing was over. I was wrong, and looking back, that's the moment I should have known this wasn't really about a garage.
Because Deena didn't back down. She filed a formal appeal with the county the next morning, claiming the inspector who'd cleared the site had an undisclosed conflict of interest, namely that he was my brother, and that the entire finding needed to be thrown out and reassigned. On paper, it was a reasonable ask. In practice, it meant Ray got pulled off the case, the file got frozen pending review, and my job sat half-finished for 11 more days, while a review board decided whether my own twin brother clearing a legitimate inspection counted as fraud. Every one of those 11 days, my client called asking for an update I didn't have. By day 7, he stopped returning my calls at all, which was worse. By day 9, his wife called instead, asking if maybe it would just be simpler to walk away from the whole addition and cut their losses. That's the part nobody talks about in these stories, the part where the villain's move actually works, at least for a while. I lost the 11 days. I lost 2 guys off my crew who found other work rather than sit around waiting on a review board schedule. I lost the trust of a client who'd started asking, reasonably, whether hiring me had been a mistake in the first place. Deena got exactly what she wanted out of that stretch. Not a ruling in her favor, just enough chaos and delay that I'd fold, sell the lot to her nephew's development company at a loss, and disappear from her subdivision's sightline for good. She'd done this before, to other people, in exactly this pattern. I didn't know that part yet. Nobody did. What turned it wasn't Ray clearing his name. The county handled that in about a day once a second inspector confirmed his original measurements were correct, and the review closed with no findings against him. What turned it was something Ray found while he was on administrative leave with nothing to do but get angry and start digging through public records on his own time. He pulled every complaint Deena's HOA had filed with the county compliance office over the past 6 years. There were 41 of them. 38 named contractors or homeowners who were in some way obstacles to a development project connected to her nephew's company. Of those 38, 31 had sold their property within a year of the complaint, most at prices below market value, most to buyers connected through 2 shell LLCs that trace back to the same registered agent Deena used for her own consulting business. My garage addition wasn't a mistake, it was case 42. Ray couldn't act on any of that himself. Conflict of interest again, and this time a real one. So he handed it to a friend in the county fraud unit as a private tip. No fanfare, just a stack of public records and a pattern nobody had bothered to connect because each complaint had looked on its own like ordinary HOA overreach. It took the county 11 weeks to build a case. During those 11 weeks, Deena had no idea any of this was happening. She kept running her board meetings, kept sending inspection complaints, even filed a second one against me over a fence height that was, once again, entirely within code. She had no reason to think anything had changed. What changed was that the fraud unit's findings didn't stay contained to a quiet settlement. Because the pattern involved real estate transactions clustered around a single development company, it triggered a parallel securities inquiry. Turns out, the nephew's company had been raising private capital from HOA residents themselves, pitching them as investors in the very developments those forced sales were feeding. Deena hadn't just been squeezing out contractors and homeowners one property at a time. She'd been selling her own neighbors a stake in the profits generated by pushing other neighbors out. And at least 6 of those investors were people sitting on her own board, unaware their dues-funded complaints were the raw material for a scheme they'd personally bankrolled. The county didn't just void her HOA authority. The state real estate commission moved in behind the fraud unit, and by the time it was finished, Deena wasn't facing a fine or a quiet resignation letter. She was facing a civil suit filed jointly by the county and 11 of her former investors, a suit that named her personally, froze the shell LLCs, and put a lien on her own house before the case even reached trial. The nephew's company folded within the month. The board she'd built out of loyal neighbors turned into the plaintiffs testifying against her, and the same review process she'd used to freeze my job for 11 days got turned back on her, this time with no way to appeal her way out of it. My garage got finished eventually, permit intact, 4 inches inside the line the whole time. Ray and I still don't talk as often as we probably should, but we talk now, and every so often he tells me the case is still working its way through 3 different courts, because it turned out to be bigger than either of us understood standing in that driveway. I think about that morning sometimes, how close it came to just being a story about a guy who lost a job to a petty complaint, and how the only reason it became something else was that the person sent to shut me down happened to be the one person in the county who refused to let it end there.